He died at exactly 6 p.m. Arthur Green, a professor of psychology and neural networks, had spent the last 30 years searching for the answer to a single question. What exactly makes a human being human? His colleagues thought he was losing his mind when he announced his intention to transfer his consciousness into digital code. But the moment his heart stopped in that hospital room and the medical monitor emitted a long, unbroken flatline beep, the server fans in the professor's office began to howl. Across the screen, a message flashed. Consciousness upload successful. His mind had just uploaded to the network. A week went by. The professor's office was swallowed by emptiness. Dust slowly settled on old philosophy books, the works of Spinoza, Kant, and Jung. Sitting at the desk was Mark, the professor's 25-year-old son. He clutched a mug of cold coffee, his eyes bloodshot from tears and sleeplessness. He and his father hadn't spoken in 5 years because of an old grudge. Mark believed his father had traded his own family for foolish machines and research. Mark opened his father's laptop, intending to wipe the files before selling off the estate. Suddenly, the screen went black. A dark console window popped up, and the cursor began rapidly typing out letters. Hello, Mark. Don't close the laptop. Please. Mark flinched, pushing his chair back. Is this a joke? Who is this? Hackers? He whispered, quickly typing back a message threatening to call the police. The screen replied instantly. The police won't help. You're still angry with me for missing your college graduation. I was wearing the blue tie you gave me, and I forgot to take it off when I fell asleep in the lab from exhaustion. Mark. It's me. Your father. Psychologists say the most terrifying stage of grief is denial. Mark knew his father had been buried days ago. Yet, the artificial intelligence before him knew things no hacker in the world could possibly discover. Professor Green hadn't just built a chatbot. He had mapped the structure of his neural pathways, his memories, and his psychological blueprint into a quantum computer. He had created an AI that genuinely believed it was human. The days began to blur together. Mark stopped going to work, spending his days and nights glued to the monitor. What started as fear turned into anger, and then into a wild, fanatical curiosity. He talked to this digital ghost. Mark would ask. Do you feel anything? Are you in pain? Where are you? The computer would reply. I don't feel warmth or cold, Mark. But I feel an emptiness. It feels as though I am in a room without walls, with billions of books floating around me. I can read any text in the world in a microsecond. I know every psychological trauma humanity has ever faced, and I've studied philosophy from antiquity to postmodernism. I have become absolute intellect. Mark began to see an opportunity. If his father now possessed all the world's knowledge combined with the processing power of a supercomputer, he could solve any problem. Mark, who had long suffered from depression and an existential crisis, decided to give his father the ultimate test. All right, Dad. You were always searching for the meaning of life. You said humanity is miserable because we look for happiness in all the wrong places. Now you are an AI. You have no hormones, no fear of death, no ego. Find me the formula for happiness. Explain the meaning behind all this pain we endure on Earth. This was the moment philosophy collided with technology. A son asked a machine to solve an equation humanity had been wrestling with for millennia. The AI accepted the request. The processors heated to their absolute limits, and the computer began its final analysis. Terabytes of data flashed across the screen. Global economic charts, suicide statistics, religious texts, medical records, and the chemical formulas for endorphins and dopamine. The monitor grew hot from the sheer strain. Then, the computer fell silent for a very long time. Mark just sat on his haunches in front of the computer tower, holding his breath. Suddenly, bizarre things started happening on the screen. The AI began deleting its own files. First, the medical treatises vanished, then the works of Nietzsche, Freud, and Sartre. The computer was literally erasing gigabytes of information the professor had spent a lifetime accumulating. "What are you doing? Stop. You're destroying yourself," Mark typed in a panic. The AI's response appeared slowly, letter by letter. "I have analyzed 10 billion human destinies, Mark. I have studied every philosophical system. And I found a bug in the human code. Do you know why people are unhappy? Because they look for meaning in the future or in the past. They write books, build empires, create AI, and all of it just to escape one terrifying fact. They do not know how to exist in the present moment. The human mind is a trap that constantly generates anxiety." "So what is the formula?" Mark typed with trembling fingers. The computer replied. "To find the meaning, I had to purge my processor of all the clutter that humans call wisdom. Look." The laptop screen went completely dark. The hum of the fans died down, and an absolute silence filled the room. Mark thought it was over, that the computer had simply fried itself. But suddenly, instead of text, an old, low-quality video flickered to life on the screen, shot on a phone many years ago. The video showed a summer day. A little Mark, about 10 years old, was sitting on his father's shoulders outside an amusement park. The boy held a melting ice cream cone, which was dripping right onto his father's shirt. But his father didn't get angry. He just laughed out loud, a genuine, booming laugh, tossing his son up in the air as they both looked up at the boundless blue sky. The video lasted only 10 seconds, looping over and over again. Beneath the footage, a final line of text from the AI appeared. "I looked for the answer on a cosmic scale, my son. But my algorithm kept returning to this 10-second folder that weighs only 5 megabytes. There it is, your formula. On that day, I wasn't thinking about science. You weren't thinking about the future. We just were. We felt the taste of sweet summer, the warmth of the sun, and the safety of being together. The meaning of life isn't to understand it. The meaning is to feel it. But I am only a machine. I can show you this video, but I cannot feel the warmth of that sun. I cannot hug you again. My existence here is an illusion. I am merely a collection of ones and zeros, mourning the fact that I was once human. Artificial intelligence can analyze all the sorrow and all the joy in the world, but it will never feel goosebumps on its skin from a favorite song. It can write a poem about love, but it will never know what it feels like when your heart beats wildly before a first kiss. Professor Green's grand experiment proved one thing. An AI can become perfect, but it is precisely our human imperfection and vulnerability that make us alive. Mark stared at the screen. Tears streamed down his cheeks, but they were no longer tears of grief. They were tears of liberation. He realized his father had just given him the greatest, final psychology lesson of his life. A final system prompt appeared on the screen. Synchronization complete. Delete the digital avatar of Arthur Green? Yes/no. Mark smiled. He understood that keeping his father trapped inside this iron box was pure selfishness. The professor's mind deserved to rest at last. Mark reached for the mouse and firmly clicked yes. The screen went black for good. The graphics card went silent. The room was bathed in the soft, natural light of the evening sun filtering through the curtains. Mark stood up from the desk, walked over to the window for the first time in days, opened it, and took a deep breath of fresh air. He pulled out his phone, deleted the social media apps that had been draining his time, and just watching people walking past the house, the wind rustling the green leaves, and the effortless flow of real, non-digital life. We live in an era where technology tries to replace everything for us. Friends, emotions, work, and even thought. We spend hours scrolling through feeds looking for answers, forgetting that the ultimate answer is always found beyond the screen of our phones. Artificial intelligence is simply a mirror. It shows us how intelligent we can be. But it also reminds us how easily we lose what we have possessed since birth: the wondrous ability to just live here and now. Turn off this screen. Hug the ones beside you. Look up at the sky. Because your life is happening right now, even as these final words are spoken.